There is something in us called the master alchemist that can transmute the lower nature of ourselves into a higher nature. There is in us a transcendental presence, and this is the master alchemist. Joel tells us that the fable of Aladdin's lamp was really a deeper teaching revealing that there is something in a man that can respond and bring forth the fulfillment of his wishes. And you don't even have to rub this something, but you have to do the equivalent, which is to know that it exists, to become consciously aware that there is a master alchemist within you which can convert the human experience into the divine. Now let's suppose that you were standing in front of a pond, maybe wearing your Sunday best, and out there the pond might be 4 or 5 foot deep, and you wanted to get across to the other side for some reason, and there was a little flagstone series of steps leading across the pond to that other side. Now which would you take? The flagstone steps, or would you wade into the pond to get there? Clearly you would take the flagstone steps. And so it is that in order to get to the other side, from this consciousness to the higher one, we must find a way. We can't just wade in, but we are now learning that there is a built-in way to the higher consciousness. And there is a big secret about this, because when the Father builds the house, you find that your way is already completed. You find that you can enter into the circle of Christ. Now we're going to clarify this by saying that most times in our human consciousness we are running ahead of God. We are so busy running ahead of God that we forget that as we run ahead in our own will, we are separated from the very substance that we need to complete our mission. And so in running ahead with our own plans, we build our castles in the air and discover only to our great chagrin and regret that we have built without substance. We didn't look for the invisible flagstone steps that led across the pond. We waded in, and with our own intelligence, our own power, our own might, we tried to do something that we did not realize cannot be done. For the only thing that can really be done is to walk in the footsteps that the Father has already outlined. There is a finished spiritual kingdom. You cannot see it. In it all is complete. And the only reality in which you can live in the external plane is to move out here in steps fashioned by the invisible within. When you have been ordained by the Spirit, when you have permitted the substance of God in you to be your substance, to realize and accept it as such, then you are moving in the substance of God. In that substance is the will of God. And that will, in the substance of your being, is your assurance that whatever you do from that moment on is already completed within, in the invisible, and your function on the outer is merely to work hitherto, to complete in the visible form that which is already totally completed in the invisible. Now you're working with substance in the will of God, and your mission is completed before you start. It is ordained. You are living out in the visible that which is complete in the invisible, and you are working with substance. And because of it, the form that you bring forth in the outer will contain a substance that governs it in the will of God, under grace, under God's government, and your work will not be in vain. This is a lesson that is difficult to learn for the human race, a lesson that has come to us only through the same difficulties that everyone else encounters. But now that it has been presented to us in a form that we can understand, we know the meaning of, unless the Lord build a house, they labor in vain that build it. No longer should we waste our time trying to work in human forms, human conditions, human substances, until we have received the realization of the divine substance as our being, which is then motivated and activated solely by the divine will. And now we walk on the earth unopposed, for the divine will in us is the ordination, the total guarantee that we are walking in His footsteps. The Father walks with us, and failure is impossible. Every step from that point is a progressive one, a complete unfolding of the divine will in us, under grace. This is the secret of spiritual living, to wait until something inside says, now, go. And then your feet are finding those invisible flagstone steps. The Red Sea is parting. The mountain is not insurmountable any longer. For I, the Father, am leading the way, going before you, invisibly. All has been laid out for you. Oh, this is the real experience. This is living by grace. This is living mystically. This is letting the master alchemist within transmute those human footsteps into divine. And you have really found the secret of living in the Father's house. This is one with a source. And when you are one with the source, you are self-sustained, self-nurtured. You are living not by human bread, but by the divine bread, the word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. You are living the divine life while apparently in the flesh. This is I within, resurrecting you from the tomb of error, the tomb of mortality, the tomb of human belief, the tomb of the false belief that I of mine own self can do something. Now as we proceed this way, we are led gradually into a new realm when we know that I out here am working hitherto and the Father within is doing the work. When we know that all that we are doing is glorifying the Father. And this is a necessary step, because until it comes you cannot live in the peace that makes possible the higher consciousness, the consciousness of he that is within me is greater than he that walks the earth. A consciousness that totally depends on this inner he, this inner I, knowing that in all things I am sustained for the one power of God alone is the power of my being. I see it work. I see it manifest. I see it dissolve false powers. Why? Because I have made that great acceptance. I have learned that God is the substance of my being. You may have meditated for many, many days, many months, even years, and sometimes wondered why there was no progress. Sometimes you may find that no matter how hard you try, somehow the Spirit will not enter into your consciousness, opening you up. But remember this, the mere fact that you are trying to be silent is going to produce a result. You're merely being momentarily barren, like a tree in wintertime. And when you least suspect it, out of nowhere pops the realization. You may even work for 3 or 4 hours at a stretch this way without any noticeable result. And then, suddenly, when you had about given up hope, here comes into your realization not the words exactly, but a quiet understanding which says something that can only come this way. It says to you in its own quiet way, God is all there is. God is all there is. Here you were, trying to find answers, trying to look for a path, trying to help somebody, trying to find solutions for problems, and out of all your work suddenly comes this momentous realization, God is all there is. And it opens in you with a sweetness that cannot be described. Like a little pea pod suddenly opening up, the sweetness enters, and now suddenly you know this is the moment. God is all there is, and the weight of the world drops away from your shoulders. After all, what is left to worry about? You realize the hypnotism you were under, the way the mind had mounted and compounded its problems when all there is God. And now it is so utterly clear. You are free. And all of the work that you thought was unproductive has finally brought you to this mountaintop, this great plateau where you can say, all there is God. And know it. Be convinced of it and release yourself into that realization and just stand still, beholding the salvation of the Lord, for that salvation is quick. It shows you instantly why all was a state of mental hypnosis. Here we are. The one substance that is God is your only name. What were you worrying about? What were you afraid of? Is the substance of God going to fail itself? And then you realize the great error that we all have made. There's hardly anyone who hasn't made it. We have accepted truth in our minds, but we have been unwilling to live by that truth, and so in reality we have not accepted it. And what is the truth that you have not accepted? You may be the exception, I hope so, but the chances are that you're like many of us who up to a great moment in our lives only thought we were accepting the truth, and now you've got to stand still and face it. The truth you have not accepted is this: you have not accepted that the substance of God is your being. That's right. That's what you have failed to accept. Now suppose you had accepted it. You would then have to accept that the qualities of that substance are also your being. Could the substance of God be afraid, fearful of tomorrow? Could the substance of God lack or be limited? Could it recognize another power than itself? Do you see then that in accepting fear, lack, limitation, other powers, you have not accepted your being to be the substance of God? And that is two-ness. That is duality. And that is the separation from God. Between your substance and your human consciousness there has been a glass darkly. This non-acceptance of your substance. So the human consciousness wanders off like a prodigal. It doesn't know you are the substance of God. And so naturally other substances in this world and other powers in this world cause it to fear, to see itself in a fractional sense instead of in its fullness. And so this we must rectify. Because until the substance of God is accepted as your being, you cannot be fully conscious. You see that? You cannot be fully conscious. You might be half conscious, or as some psychologists say, unconscious, but not fully conscious, because only the Christ is fully conscious. First, let us meditate here. Let us take into the silence the realization that God is all there is. Catch that and the rest will follow. God is all there is. God is one. And there is no other. That one is every one. One ocean with many waves. Every wave is part of the ocean, never separate, the same substance as the ocean. God is one. God is all there is. Let us accept that in silence as a beginning of our acceptance that the substance of God is my being. Very good. Now we have established that God is all. Our consciousness rests in that assurance. God being all, there is no one or condition in this world that I must fear. God being all, love must be everywhere, fulfillment everywhere, peace everywhere. I am accepting that God is all. And now, should I accept the opposite of God, such as pain, disease, unemployment, any nature of discord, then quite clearly I am not accepting God as all. I am dividing God's garment. And further, I am doing something very strange. I am calling God a liar. For are we not told that the Father said that all that he created was very good. And because that is so, and all that is what he created, then all must be very good. What's good about cancer? What's good about unemployment? What's good about pain or suffering? They're not very good. But only that which God created exists, and that is very good. Therefore, what I am calling pain cannot be existent. What I am calling sorrow, lack, limitation, and so forth, these are not existent. And if I say they are here, while God said he only created that which was good, I am saying, God, you are a liar. And oh, how many times we've all done that. As a matter of fact, toward God, we find that we have very poor manners. We're very discourteous. If you were seated at a dinner table, and you were a little child, or you had a little child there, you'd say to the child, now, be still. Little children must be seen but not heard. We do not give God the same courtesy. When God is speaking, we should be still. But we have not learned normal courtesy to God for a very simple reason. To us, God has somehow been a name, a word, an idea, an abstraction, not something living, tangible, present, here and now. And that's the reason we call God a liar. That's the reason we speak while God is talking. That's the reason we turn our back on God and ignore God. We have not accepted the living presence as being here. But it is not only here, nothing else is here. God is all. And therefore the height of wisdom is to accept that allness as the substance of your own being. To relax in the allness of the presence of God, knowing that my needs are already fulfilled. The acceptance of the allness of God as my very being is really the master alchemist, isn't it? The fowls of the air have no barns. They need no storehouse. Do I? If God is my substance, the allness, is not my storehouse the infinity of God which is ever present? And whom shall I harm? From whom shall I steal? What have they got that is not included in the allness of my being? Isn't it a matter of acceptance that God being all, the Son and the Father are one, and all that the Father hath is mine now and here? That's right, we have not accepted. We have not accepted independence. We have not accepted freedom. We have not accepted all that the Father has given, because God to us has not been a presence felt, a presence realized. But let us accept. Let us accept that the one source, being here now, knoweth my needs, and it is its good pleasure to give me the fullness, the glory, the substance, the keys to the kingdom. Why should God withhold? How can God withhold? And so we accept. We accept the presence of God thought. If someone came to this room right now and delivered a cablegram or a Western Union telegram, I'm sure you'd forgive me if we stopped the class a moment and opened it up to see what's in it. Perhaps there's an emergency need we could all fulfill. But God is sending us Godgrams every moment. Should we not open them up, see what's in them? Should we not listen? Should we not receive His idea, His will, His thought, His terms, His love, His scripture, His words, His power? For there is the master alchemist saying, I have meat. I am in the midst of you. I am substance. Without me you can do nothing. With me there is nothing you cannot do. And here we have a great secret. The secret of substance. The secret of the will of the Father. The secret of the finished kingdom of God on earth. Think for a moment. In the finished kingdom of God, the spiritual kingdom, all is complete. Nothing can be added, nothing can be taken away. And when the substance of God is received inside you, when your consciousness is alive to the substance, then you have God within. The law of externalization says that that which is within will appear without. If you have God within, you have God without. And therefore, like a spider outside will spin the forms which will be governed, directed, and sustained by the master alchemist within. You can even go a step further. Of mine own self I can do nothing means that without divine substance there's nothing out here I can do that has any permanence or fulfillment or satisfaction or substance. As a matter of fact, there's nothing out here that I can do of my own self what is real. And the secret is that I can do nothing out here, nothing, unless it is completed within the spiritual universe already. Only that which exists as completed fact in the spiritual universe can be done in the outer world. So we're told repeatedly, don't run ahead of God. Wait on the Lord. Behold His salvation. Let the Lord build a house. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Always we're told that unless you are ordained from within, what you do in the outer world will be of no value. It may even be a castle, but it will crumble. Because it will be without substance. It is violating the law of God within, thus God without. Now it's more than just a commandment to wait upon the Lord. It's good, hard, common, practical sense. For I waste years and many incarnations building what cannot be built. Think of the time and effort in this world that would have been saved by those who knew that if you build without the inner ordination of the Father, you're wasting your time. And so again, we learn to listen for those Godgrams, those divine thoughts floating in the air, because they bear not only the thought of God, but in that thought is the substance of God, the will of God, the ordination of God. and our success is assured. For in obedience to this substance, will, thought, ordination, we become an instrument for the divine, to show forth the glory of the Father. We become that presence in the outer which is the hitherto to the activity of the presence in the inner. Thou seest me, thou seest the substance, will, thought, and ordination of God in activity. And what power is there in this world of men to stand in front of the will of God and deny it? And so we're told that if we heed these words and comply, we will be building a house with a foundation that will not topple when the rains come. Yes, the very secret of life, the master alchemist within, is present in each of us, awaiting recognition. Turning from the substances of the world which had been the decoys, from the material creations of the senses, we accept instead the living presence, the living love, the living truth. And always now we use truth not to manipulate it, not to direct it, not to tell it what to do, but truth to us becomes just a way of letting the mind become quiet. When we live in the letter of the truth, we use it only to make the mind quiet. That's the purpose of these affirmations now, to quiet the mind, to let it rest. For we're not going to open a competing mind, a competing factory of thought to the divine thought. And we find a peace. My peace I give unto you. This is a peace that you cannot get in the logic of a human mind. My peace is the substance of life unfolding in your consciousness. And as you dwell in it, you will receive ample assurance of the presence of God in your midst, the voice that speaks and melts the earth. That assurance will come in many ways. Oh yes, it could be the still small voice, but it can come in so many other ways. The quietness, the inner knowing, the glow, the ineffable ways of God itself. And no matter how it comes, it will be saying in its own way, live in me. I am here. I'm in front of you. I'm clearing the way. It is I, the master alchemist. I who multiply loaves and fishes. I who prepare mansions for you. I who smooth the way with love in all your relationships. Rest now, for I am here with you. Abide in me. Be still. I am here. It is I. Don't be concerned a bit. I am here now. Though invisible, but here, now, governing all that concerns you. I give you my peace. We're going to have many ups and downs. But when the fullness comes, it brings a completely new life of dedication, new joys, new appearances, new experiences. We become aware of hidden capacities, new pathways, new vistas. And these take the place of the separate, unprotected life from God in which we have been unfulfilled, incomplete. This light of knowing, this illumination, as you relax and let the presence will itself through you, is an inner plane activity. And it comes completely without taking conscious thought. And then the fruit appears tangibly. We're learning how to really pray without ceasing. And in this new way of life, we draw only from the deep inner substance of life. The Father within, the divine bread, the meat, the inspiration, the fulfillment, the power, the presence that transcends all else. And there we rest confidently. For now we have a constant communion, and grace comes forth producing experiences beyond mortal mind. We are one with the source. We have accepted freedom. Now no one need fear you, for you will have no designs on anything that they own. You are now able to share the infinite with those who come into your household. Your divine source is governing, sustaining, always keeping 12 baskets full. You are one with the infinite. Sometimes we wonder, can I really do this? And you know, that's really ridiculous. There certainly has been enough evidence that fishermen could do it and a tax collector could do it. We can do it. It is our Father's good pleasure that we do it. And we will do it by the acceptance of the principle that to be perfect as my Father is in heaven, I must be that one which is perfect. There is no other one who could be perfect other than the Christ. And to be perfect, I must be that Christ. Let's pause a moment, resting in this awareness now that the full measure of Christhood is mine, established from the foundations of the world. Before the world was, before Jesus was, before Buddha and Krishna were, Christ was. Christ is. Christ ever will be. For Christ is the Spirit of God, the substance of God, the will of God, the power of God, the Son of God. And that infinite Son includes you, him, her, me. We must all learn that I am the Christ of God.
Additional free content about the principles and application of the Infinite Way and general mystical practice is available for your use on the Practical Mysticism YouTube channel and at my website at the link in the notes. Please subscribe and share so together we can assist in the great awakening to truth. Thank you.